The sky was clear when the Zilari arrived. They came in a ship that looked like it was made of glass. It floated down from space without making any noise. People watched from the ground, some in fear, others in wonder. For the first time in history, humans were not alone. Governments had prepared for this day. They had spent years training teams to meet aliens. Among them were two people, Jake Morris and Lisa Garcia. Jake was a linguist. He studied languages, both human and imagined. He had learned how to speak to machines, to animals, even to old forgotten scripts. Now he would try to talk to beings from another world. Lisa was a biologist. She studied life, how it grew, how it changed, how it worked. She had always wondered what alien life might look like. Now she was about to find out. They stood together at the landing site, a flat stretch of desert far from big cities. Behind them, soldiers waited, cameras rolled, and scientists whispered nervously. Ahead, the alien ship settled onto the sand, like a drop of water on paper. Then the door opened. A light shone from inside. It was soft, not blinding. Slowly, shapes began to appear in the glow. Tall, thin figures stepped forward. Their skin sparkled like crystals. They moved smoothly, as if gliding instead of walking. One of them stepped ahead of the rest. Its voice came through a translator built into its chest. "We are the Zilari," it said. "We come in peace." Everyone stood still. Then, applause broke out. People cheered, some cried, others simply stared in awe. The Zilari did not cheer back. They did not smile or cry. They only watched. Over the next few days, humans and Zilari met often. They talked, shared food, showed art, and tried to understand each other. The Zilari were calm and polite. They asked many questions about Earth, about human culture, about technology. But sometimes, they asked strange things. During one meeting, a Zilari pointed at Jake's nose. "Why do you have two holes here?" it asked. Jake blinked. Because we breathe through them." The Zilari tilted its head. "Why not one? Is two better than one?" He laughed. "I guess it helps us smell better." Another Zilari spoke. "But why not three? Or four?" Everyone chuckled nervously. It was just a weird question. Later, during a tour of a biology lab, a Zilari asked Lisa about body hair. "Why does it grow here?" it asked, pointing to its own smooth face. "And here?" it added, pointing to places under its arms and between its legs. Lisa smiled. "Well, we don't really know for sure anymore. Maybe it used to help us stay warm long ago." The Zilari looked puzzled. "But why keep it if it is no longer needed?" She shrugged. "Some things just stick around." The Zilari didn't say anything else. It only watched her, its crystal, eyes reflecting the lights above. Not everything was easy. Communication was hard. The Zilari thought differently. They saw patterns where humans saw chaos. They found meaning in silence. They disliked loud noises and sudden movements. Once, during a celebration, someone shot off fireworks. The Zilari flinched. One covered its ears. Another backed away quickly. People stopped the show. Apologies were made. The Zilari accepted them, but they left early. Still, most meetings went well. The Zilari seemed curious. They wanted to learn. About humans, they asked about sleep. "You stop moving every night?" one asked. "For hours?" "Yes," said a scientist. "Our bodies need it." "Why not evolve past it?" the Zilari asked. Nobody knew how to answer. As weeks passed, the Zilari started asking more personal questions. They asked about pain. "Why? Do you feel it?" one asked. "Because it warns us when something is wrong," said Lisa. "Could you not warn yourselves without suffering?" She hesitated. "Maybe, but we've never been able to change it." The Zilari looked at each other. Then one said, "Your bodies seem inefficient." No one liked that word. Inefficient. It felt like an insult. Jake tried to laugh it off. "Well, we're not perfect, but we get by." The Zilari did not laugh. They only nodded. One evening, After a long day of talks, Jake and Lisa sat outside, looking up at the stars. "Do you think they're judging us?" Lisa asked quietly. Jake took a sip of his drink. "They're just trying to understand us." "But sometimes," she said, "it feels like they're disappointed." He frowned. "Disappointed in what?" "Us, our bodies, our lives." He shook his head. "They're just different. They see things in a way we can't." She sighed. "Maybe. But sometimes I wonder if we're not what they expected." He looked at her. "What do you mean?" She paused. "Like, what if we're not broken, but to them we look like we are?" He didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, "Maybe we are. But that doesn't mean we're not worth knowing." She gave a small smile. "Hope they figure that out." Above them, the alien ship hovered silently, watching. The Xelari had come in peace, but already there were signs that peace might not be enough. Something about humans bothered them. Not in a bad way, just in a confusing, unsettling way. Nothing about human bodies made sense, and that was horrifying. After weeks of meetings, the Xelari asked for something new. They wanted to study a human body, not a living one, just someone who had passed away and agreed to give their body for science. The request surprised many, but scientists were used to this. Bodies were studied all the time. So they agreed. A volunteer donor was chosen. The person had died peacefully and left their body to research. The Xelari were given access in a quiet lab far from the public. Jake Morris, and Lisa Garcia were there too. They watched as the Xelari entered the room. They did not bring tools like scalpels or saws. Instead, they brought light. Soft blue lights came from their hands and scanned the body slowly. They moved in silence. Their crystal eyes glowed as they observed every detail. Then they began to speak. "This form is strange," said one Xelari. "Yes," said another. "Many parts do not make sense." Jake frowned. "What do you mean?" One of them turned to him. "You have a system for eating, one for breathing, and one for waste, but they cross each other." Lisa looked confused. "What do you mean, cross?" "Your throat," said the Xelari. "It serves both air and food. Why would you risk choking? It is not safe." No one answered right away. Finally, Jake said, "We've always been like that." "But why?" asked the Xelari. Nobody had a good answer. The Xelari kept talking about what they saw. "Your spine," said one. "It curves in ways that cause pain. It seems to have changed over time, but not for better support." Lisa looked at the body on the table. She had studied spines before. She knew they caused problems. But hearing an alien say it made it feel worse. "Your heart," said another Xelari. "It pumps blood through many tubes. Some go up when gravity pulls down. It is not efficient. But it works," said a human scientist. "Barely," said the Xelari. Everyone looked at each other. "Your skin," said another. "You sweat through holes. Why not cool yourself with breath or thought?" "Because we can't," said Jake. Then, "Your body is limited," said the Xelari. Again, no one knew what to say. After hours of scanning and talking, the Xelari stepped back. They looked at each other for a long time. Then one of them spoke. "This being was once alive?" "Yes," said Lisa. "And all humans are like this?" "Yes," she said quietly. The Xelari looked disturbed. "There is no logic in this form," said one. "It is full of contradictions," said another. "Contradictions?" Jake asked. "Yes," said the Xelari. "Parts that fight each other, systems that work against themselves, organs that serve no clear purpose." "Like what?" asked Lisa. "Your appendix," said the Xelari. "It does nothing useful. Yet if it breaks, it can kill you." Lisa felt a chill. "Your male sex organ," said another Xelari. "It leaves the body. It should be protected, but it is not." Jake tried to laugh. "Well, evolution isn't perfect." "No," said the Xelari. "It is messy." They turned and walked out of the room. No one followed. Later that night, Jake and Lisa sat outside the lab. "Did you see their faces?" Lisa asked. "They weren't just studying," Jake said. "They were judging." But why? We're not broken. Maybe not to us, he said. But to them, she didn't finish her sentence. They looked up at the sky. The Zalari ship hovered above like a silent watcher. Inside, the Zalari met together. Their voices were low. They shared what they had seen. Human biology is unstable, said one. They are weak, said another. Their form is not fixed, said a third. They change without reason. They are not safe, said the leader. Should we still learn from them? Asked one young Zalari. There was a pause. No, said the leader. They are not stable enough. Another added, they could harm us. How? Asked the young one. With their chaos, said the leader. Their way of being is not clean. It spreads. The young Zalari did not understand, but it did not ask again. Over the next few days, things changed. The Zalari became quieter. They asked fewer questions. They smiled less if they ever did. Humans noticed but didn't know why. During a meeting, a Zalari pointed at Lisa's mouth. Why do teeth rot? It asked. Because of bacteria, she said. Could you not live without bacteria? No, she said. We need it to survive. The Zalari looked sad. Then your life depends on danger. She didn't know how to respond. One evening, Jake and Lisa stood near the edge of the base. Do you think they're scared of us? She asked. He looked at her. Scared? Not scared like afraid, she said. But maybe worried. About what? Our bodies, she said. Maybe they think we're dangerous because we don't make sense. He shook his head. We're not dangerous. We're just different. But to them, she said, different might be bad. He didn't argue. They looked at the stars again. Above them, the Zalari ship stayed still, watching, waiting, thinking. By now, it was clear. Nothing about human bodies made sense, and that was horrifying. After the dissection, the Zalari became even more quiet. They still met with humans. They still asked questions. But something had changed. They did not smile. They did not explore. They only watched, and they began to send messages into space. Jake, Morris, and Lisa Garcia noticed this first. Late at night, they saw the Zalari ship glowing with soft light. It was not moving, but it was sending out signals, long bursts of data aimed at the stars. They're talking to someone, Jake said. But who? Lisa asked. They tried to ask. But when they did, the Zalari gave short answers. We are sharing what we have learned, one said. With who? Jake asked. Our kind. That was all. The humans started to worry. Why were the Zalari sending so much data? They went to their leaders. They asked for help. Soon, a team of scientists and linguists worked together to try to understand the Zalari messages. It was hard. The Zalari used strange codes. But after days of work, they found something. A message had been leaked. It was short, and parts of it were unclear. But some words were clear enough. Aberrant life form, unstable biostructure, unpredictable systems, possible contamination risk. No one liked what they read. Contamination risk, Lisa whispered. They think we're dangerous, Jake said. Not like sick, she said. Like messy. He looked at her. You think they're scared of how we're built? She nodded slowly. Maybe. Over the next few days, more Zalari ships arrived. They did not land. They only hovered above big cities. One over New York, one over Tokyo, one over Cape Town. People looked up. They took pictures. Some cheered. Others felt uneasy. Government sent messages. They asked what was happening. The Zalari did not answer. In secret, Jake and Lisa kept studying the Zalari. They wanted to know more about them. If they thought humans were wrong, then maybe they could understand why. They found that Zalari biology was very different from humans. Every Zalari had the same body. No differences. No sickness. no pain. Their skin healed fast. Their minds worked like machines. They never got old. They didn't eat like humans. They absorbed energy from light. They didn't sleep. They just paused for short times like computers going idle. Their bodies were clean. Perfect. Compared to that, humans looked broken. Bones that broke easily, skin that tore, brains that got confused, bodies that made mistakes. Lisa read through reports. Late at night, she looked at charts, diagrams, scans. Human bodies were full of weird things. The eye had a blind spot. Why? Because the nerves were in front of the sensors. They should be behind, but they weren't. The throat let food and air share the same path. People choked because of it. Men's testes grew outside the body. Too hot inside? Then why not keep them safe? Women's bodies hurt when they had babies. Other animals didn't suffer as much. Nothing made sense. And yet, humans survived. They lived. They grew. They made music. They told stories. They loved. Jake tried to talk to the Zilari again. He asked, "Why do you study us so much?" One of them looked at him. "Your kind is not stable," it said. "What does that mean?" he asked. "Your form changes, it has no plan, no goal. But we adapt," he said. "Adaptation is not order," said the Zilari. Jake frowned. "So you don't like change?" "We do not fear it," said the Zilari. "We avoid it." He didn't understand. But Lisa did. Change was normal for humans, but for Zilari it was rare. Maybe even bad. If Zilari shared the same body forever, then human chaos might feel like disease. Then came the worst news. A second message was found. This one was clearer. Humans are biologically unstable. Exposure may cause deviation in Zilari structure. Until further study, contact must be limited. Limited contact. Quarantine. Fear. Lisa showed the message to Jake. He read it once. Then again. "They think we'll make them wrong," he said. "Not wrong," she said. "Different." He looked at her. "Is that so bad?" She didn't answer right away. "For them," she said. "Yes. They've never changed. They don't know what will happen if they do." He shook his head. "We're not monsters." "No," she said. "But we're not like them either." Outside, the sky was dark. Above them, the Xilari ships floated silently, watching, waiting, afraid. Back on their ship, the Xilari met again. They spoke in low tones. "They do not see themselves as broken," said one. "They do not care," said another. "Should we stay?" asked a third. There was silence. Finally, the leader spoke. "No," it said. "We must go." "But what if we learn from them?" asked a young Xilari. "Learn what?" asked the leader. "How to change." The room was silent. "Change is not growth," said the leader. "It is risk." The young Xilari did not speak. Again. Later that night, Jake and Lisa sat near the edge of the base. "Do you think they'll leave?" she asked. "I think they already have," he said. She looked up at the sky. "Do you think they're right?" "About what?" "About us," she said. "Do you think we're unstable?" He thought for a long time. "Maybe we are," he said. "Does that scare you?" He smiled. "No. Why not?" He looked at her. "Because if we're unstable, then maybe we're also free." She smiled too. "Maybe," she said. The Xilari stayed for a few more days. Then, one by one, their ships left the skies. They did not say goodbye. They only vanished, leaving behind questions. And one truth. Nothing about human bodies made sense, and that was horrifying. After the Xilari left, life on Earth went back to normal. Mostly. People talked about them for weeks. Some said they were arrogant. Others said they were cowards. A few even said they were right. But Jake Morris and Lisa Garcia could not forget what had happened. They kept going over the messages. They read the reports again and again. The Xilari had not just left. They had rejected humans, not because of war, not because of fear, but because of biology. Humans were not clean, not stable, not safe, and that was enough for the Xelari to walk away. Jake tried to argue with the Xelari one last time before their ship left. He stood in front of their leader and said, "We're not perfect, but we are alive." The Xelari looked at him. "Life does not need perfection," he said. "It only needs to survive." The Xelari tilted its head. "Survival is not enough. Survival must be efficient." Jake shook his head. "You don't understand us." "No," said the Xelari. "We understand you too well." Then it turned and walked away. The door to the ship closed behind it, and the ship lifted into the sky. Gone. Lisa spent her days in the lab. She read old studies. She watched videos of the Xelari. She asked questions no one else wanted to ask. Why did the Xelari come in the first place? What did they hope to find? And why did they leave so fast? One day she found something new. A hidden file. It had been left behind by accident. Or maybe on purpose. Inside, there was more than just data. There was truth. The file told a secret. Before the Xelari came, they had studied humans from far away. They had seen our wars, our pain, our suffering. But they had also seen something else, something strange. Humans made beauty from broken things. They wrote songs when they were sad. They painted stars when they could not reach them. They built meaning out of chaos. The Xelari had been curious. They had wanted to learn from this chaos. They had hoped it would help them. Because for millions of years the Xelari had been the same. No change, no pain, no surprise. They were perfect. And maybe that was the problem. They wanted to feel what humans felt. They wanted to change, so they came, to see if human biology could help them break free. Lisa called Jake. He came to the lab as fast as he could. "Look at this," she said. He read the file. His eyes grew wide. "They didn't come just to study us," he said. "They came to change." "Yes," she said. "But when they saw us up close," he finished the sentence. "They got scared. Not scared like afraid," she said. "Scared like infected." He sat down. "They thought we'd make them messy." "Yes," she said. "They wanted chaos, but they didn't know how to control it." He shook his head. "So they ran." "They didn't run," she said. "They locked themselves away." He looked at her. "Quarantine." She nodded. Meanwhile, the world began to change. Some people were angry at the Xelari. Others were sad. A few were proud. "They feared us," one man said on TV. "Because we were too much." "Too much what?" asked a reporter. "Too real," he said. Others started to think like him. They began to see the Xelari's words not as insults, but as proof. Proof that humans were different, in a good way. They were not clean. They were not perfect. They were not safe, but they were alive and they could feel. Back in the lab, Jake and Lisa kept reading. They found more secrets. The Xelari had planned to share DNA with humans, to mix their biology, to let some human chaos enter Xelari life. But after seeing how fragile and strange humans were, they stopped. They decided it was too risky. Human biology was not just different, it was unpredictable. And once it touched something, it might never stop changing it. "They didn't just fear us," Lisa said. "They feared what we could do to them." Jake looked at her. "Like a virus." "Yes," she said, "but not a bad one. Just one that changes things." He smiled. "Maybe that's not a bad thing." "Maybe not," she said. "But to them, it is." Later that night, Jake stood outside. He looked up at the stars. The Xelari were gone, but he could still feel them watching, still thinking, still afraid. He whispered to himself, "We are not broken." He paused. "We are not broken," he said, louder. Then he said, "We are wild." He smiled. Lisa joined him. She looked at the sky, too. "Do you think they'll ever come back?" she asked. He thought for a moment. "Maybe," he said, "if they get brave." "Or maybe," she said, "if they get curious again." He nodded. Curiosity is stronger than fear. She smiled. For us, she said. Yes, they stood together. Two humans, messy, flawed, alive, and beautiful. The Zilari had rejected humans. They had chosen order over chaos, perfection over change, safety over feeling. They had walked away, but they had not forgotten. Somewhere in space they still remembered, and maybe, someday, they would return. Not to judge, but to learn. Nothing about human bodies made sense, and that was horrifying. But it was also wonderful, because nothing about human bodies made sense, and that meant anything was possible. After the Zilari left, the world changed. At first, people tried to forget them. They went back to work, school, and life. But then came the leaks. More messages were found, more secrets came out, and people started to understand. The auxiliary had not just feared humans. They had been terrified by us. Not because we were dangerous, not because we were strong, but because our bodies made no sense. And that scared them. Jake, Morris, and Lisa Garcia watched it all unfold. News spread fast. Headlines read, Zilari call human biology unstable. Humans are a biological risk. We are not safe to be around. People reacted in many ways. Some laughed, some cried, some got angry. Others felt ashamed. A man named Kevin turned on his TV and saw the news. He sat in silence. His wife asked, "What's wrong?" He looked at her. "They think we're broken." She frowned. "Who does?" "The Zilari," he said. "And maybe some of us too." Scientists began to look at the human body in new ways. They stopped seeing it as normal. They started seeing it like the Zilari did. And what they saw was strange. Very strange. Lisa worked with a team of doctors and biologists. They asked hard questions. Why? Do humans have a throat that lets food and air share the same path? It causes choking. Every year, thousands die from something as simple as eating too fast. Why does the spine curve so strangely? It was built for 4 legs, but now it supports 2. That causes pain. Back pain is one of the most common problems in humans. Why do men have testes outside the body? Because inside is too hot. But if they are outside, they are easy to hurt. Why do women bleed every month? Other animals do not. If a woman is not pregnant, why does her body throw itself away, again and again? Why do eyes have a blind spot? The nerves are in front of the sensors, they should be behind. But they are not. Why do teeth rot? Why not make them stronger? Why not let them grow forever? Why not make them perfect? These questions spread. People talked about them online, in schools, in homes and bars. "We are not built right," one student said. "We are just weird," another replied. "Or maybe," said a teacher, "we are just alive." But even she wasn't sure. Kevin read everything he could find. He became obsessed. He printed reports and stuck them on his walls. He wrote notes in the margins. He talked to anyone who would listen. "We are not broken," he told a group of friends. "We are just wild." One friend asked, "Wild how?" "We don't fit into neat boxes," Kevin said. "Our bodies are full of mistakes, but those mistakes helped us survive." Another friend shook her head. "How can mistakes help?" "Because they force us to change," he said, "to adapt." His wife listened quietly. Then she said, "But what if we are dangerous?" Kevin looked at her. "Not to each other," she said, "but to something else. Something clean." He didn't answer, because he thought she might be right. Meanwhile, Jake gave talks. He stood in front of big crowds, he showed slides, he told stories. He argued that humans were not flawed, we are not broken, we are just different. "Yes," he said, "our bodies are messy." "Yes," he said, "they are full of contradictions. But that is what makes us special. We feel pain," he said, "so we learn from it. We get sick," he said, "so we fight to stay well. We die," he said, "so we know life is precious." People clapped. Some cheered. Others still looked unsure. Lisa published a paper. It was called "Nothing About Human Bodies Makes Sense," and that's horrifying. It went viral. Doctors read it. Teachers used it in class. Even kids shared it. The paper said that humans are not bad designs. We are not mistakes. We are living proof that life does not need to be perfect to be beautiful. Evolution is not a plan, she wrote. It is a guess. We are the result of millions of lucky guesses, and sometimes those guesses go wrong. But sometimes, those wrong turns lead to something new, something better, something unexpected. Back in space, far away, a Zilari ship floated silently. Inside, a young Zilari watched videos of humans. It saw a child laugh. It saw an old man cry. It saw a couple dance. It saw a girl draw a picture. It saw a boy run through the rain. It did not understand. Its leader walked in. "Why do you watch this?" it asked. The young Zilari paused. "I want to know," it said. "Why they feel so much." The leader looked at the screen. Then it said, "Feeling is not safe." "No," said the young Zilari, "but maybe it is worth the risk." The leader did not answer. It only walked away. On Earth, the panic grew. Some people wanted to change. They wanted to fix the human body, make it cleaner, make it safer, make it like the Zilari. Others said no. They said, "We are not broken." They said, "We are not a mistake." They said, "We are alive." And that was enough. Nothing about human bodies made sense, and that was horrifying. But it was also beautiful, because nothing about human bodies made sense. And that meant anything was possible. After the Zilari left, they made one final message. It was not sent to all humans, only to leaders, governments, those who made big decisions. The message was short. Humans are biologically unstable. Until further study, contact must stop. They were being locked away, not with walls, not with weapons, but with silence. People did not like it. Some called it unfair. Others said it was wise. A few thought it was the truth. Jake Morris read the message. In a quiet room, he sat at a table with Lisa Garcia. She looked tired. "They really don't want to talk to us," she said. Jake nodded. "They're afraid." "Of what?" "Of us changing them." She looked at the screen again. "We didn't even touch them. How could we change them?" he thought for a moment. "Maybe just knowing us is enough." She frowned. "Like a virus?" He smiled. "Maybe." In secret, some Zilari scientists stayed behind. They did not return home. They watched from hidden places. One of them was named Vera. She had studied humans longer than most. She had seen music, seen laughter, seen pain, and she had felt something new, something no Zilari should feel. Curiosity. She wanted to understand. Why do humans cry when they are happy? Why do they paint things that do not exist? Why do they love people even when it hurts? She asked these questions in private. No one answered, because no Zilari had answers. Meanwhile, on Earth, a man named Kevin started a plan. He had read everything about the Zilari. He had followed every leak, every message, every clue, and he believed something others did not. He believed the Zilari were lying, not about fearing humans. That much was true. But there was more, much more. He thought the Zilari were not just scared. They were interested. They had not rejected humans. They had run away from something they could not control, and Kevin wanted to prove it. He found others who felt the same. Scientists, engineers, dreamers. They formed a small group. They called themselves the Bridge. Their goal was simple: make the Zilari face what they feared. Show them that humans were not just chaos, we were life, and life could not be locked away. Lisa and Jake heard about the Bridge. They met Kevin in a small town far from the cities. They talked late into the night. Kevin said, "The Zilari fear us because we are alive in a way they are not." Lisa looked at him. "What do you mean?" He pointed to his chest. "We feel, we change, we grow." Then he paused. "They don't." Jake crossed his arms. "You think they're not alive?" They are, Kevin said. But they are stuck. Stuck how? Same bodies. Same minds. Same thoughts. They never change, he said. So when they saw us, he smiled. They saw something they wanted. Lisa looked at Jake. He said, "You think they envy us?" "Yes," Kevin said. "And that scares them more than anything." Vefra, a Zalari scientist, watched from afar. She had stayed behind. She had taken risks. She had learned things other Zalari would not allow. She had listened to human music, watched human movies, read human books, and she had felt something strange. Not pain, not hunger, but something deeper. Longing. She did not know what for, only that it hurt and that it was beautiful. Back on Earth, Kevin's group began to act. They built a signal, a message. Not in words, in music, in sound, in feeling. They sent it into space. Not to call the Xalari back, but to remind them of what they left behind. A child laughing, a couple dancing, a song sung by many voices, a heartbeat. They sent it in secret, hoping someone would hear, hoping someone would feel. Vefra heard it. She was alone on a hidden ship. When the signal came, she played it. At first, she did not know what it was. Then she heard the laugh, and something inside her shifted. She stood still. Her crystal body glowed softly. Then she whispered, "I remember." Meanwhile, Jake and Lisa argued. Lisa said, "If we show them too much, they might run farther." Jake shook his head. "Or maybe they'll come closer." "How can you be sure?" He looked at the stars. "Because if they ran away from us," he said, "then they must have felt something real. And if they felt something real," he said, "then they will want to feel it again." Lisa thought for a long time. Then she said, "You think they miss us?" He smiled. "Maybe. The Exilari had exiled us. They had turned their backs. They had closed the door. But they had not forgotten, and they had not stopped listening." Nothing about human bodies made sense. And that was horrifying. But it was also powerful. Because nothing about human bodies made sense, and that meant we could still surprise them, still move them, still reach them, even from far away, far from Earth, hidden behind a cold moon. A small Zalari ship floated in silence. Inside, Vera stood alone. She was not with her people. Her ship had broken away from the main fleet weeks ago. No one knew she was still watching, still listening, still feeling. She had heard the signal, the music, the laughter, the heartbeat, and something inside her had changed. Solari did not change, not like humans. They were made to be perfect, to last forever. But now, Vera felt something wrong. Or maybe something right, something new. Back on Earth, Kevin's group waited. They watched the sky every night, hoping for a sign, a reply, anything. Jake Morris and Lisa Garcia stayed close. They helped build more signals, more messages. They sent poems, songs, videos of people dancing, of children drawing, of old men telling stories. "If they ran from us," Jake said, "then we need to remind them why they looked at us in the first place." Lisa nodded. "Because we are alive." He smiled. "Yes." Vefra opened her eyes. Her body felt strange. Not sick, not broken, just different. She touched her hand. It shimmered like always, but it felt heavier, slower, like something inside her had shifted. She checked her systems. Everything was working, but not exactly the same. Her heart beat differently. Her thoughts came slower. And sometimes, she felt something no Xalari should feel. Emotion, sadness, joy, longing. These were not normal. These were not safe. She called out to the other ships. No one answered. She was truly alone. On Earth, the bridge kept sending. One night, they sent a message that said, "You said we are unstable. You said we are messy. You said we are dangerous. But what if you are wrong? What if chaos is not bad? What if it is life? They hit send and waited. Vefra saw the message. She read it once, then again, then she whispered, what if they are right? She thought about her kind, about how they never changed, never felt pain, never laughed, never cried, never loved. And she wondered, had they missed something? Had they run from something beautiful? Had they locked themselves away from life? Meanwhile, on the Xilari homeworld, things were not the same. A few ships had been near Earth. Some had seen the human broadcasts. Some had listened. And now, reports came in. Strange changes in Xilari minds. Some dreamed. Some felt sadness. Some asked questions they never asked before. Why do we fear change? Why do we avoid feeling? Why do we stay so far from life? Leaders grew worried. They called meetings. They warned their kind. Do not listen to the humans. Do not watch their signals. Do not think like them. But it was too late. The infection had already started. Kevin sat with his friends. He looked up at the stars. They're hearing us, he said. How do you know? Someone asked. He smiled. Because they're afraid. Lisa walked over. She looked tired. We might have done something dangerous, she said. Maybe, Jake said. Or maybe we just reminded them they are alive. She looked at him. You really believe that? He nodded. Yes. Vefra stood in front of a mirror. She looked at herself. Her skin was still crystal. Her eyes still glowed. But something was different. She could feel it. She reached into her chest. Not with hands, with thought. And she found it. A small change. A shift in her code. Her DNA had changed. Just a little. But enough. She had taken something from the humans. Not disease, not death, not danger. Something worse. Something better. Chaos. Back on Earth, Lisa got a message. It was short from a secret source. It said, some of us are changing. We are not the same. We are not sure who we are anymore. Thank you. Jake read it over her shoulder. He looked at her. They've been infected, he said. She looked back at him. By what? He smiled. By us. The Xilari feared human biology. They said it was unstable, dangerous, contagious. And now, they were right. Human chaos had spread, not through touch, not through war, not through force, but through feeling, through music, through love, through life. Nothing about human bodies made sense, and that was horrifying. But it was also powerful, because nothing about human bodies made sense, and that meant even the perfect could fall, could feel, could change. After the Xilari found out some of their kind were changing, they did something fast. They made a rule, a strong one. Humans are dangerous. They must be left alone. No contact, no study, no thought. They called it the quarantine order. Earth was now off limits, not with weapons, not with war, but with silence and fear. People on Earth saw the change. The Xilari ships that had stayed above big cities vanished. No more lights in the sky. No more talks, no more questions, just gone. Jake Morris stood outside at night looking up. Lisa Garcia joined him. They're really leaving, she said. Yes, he said. They're scared. Of what? Of us. She looked at him. We didn't even touch them. He smiled. We didn't have to. She frowned. Then how did we change them? He thought for a moment. Maybe just knowing us was enough. She looked back at the stars. Then maybe we're not broken, she said. No, he said. We're just alive. On Earth, people reacted in many ways. Some were angry. They said the Xilari were cowards. Others were sad. They wanted to learn from the aliens, to talk, to share, to grow. But some felt proud. Proud to be human, proud to be wild, proud to be strange. One man named Kevin stood on a stage. He spoke to a crowd. They feared us, he said. Because we are not like them. We do not live in perfect lines. We do not move in silence. We feel pain. We cry. We laugh. We bleed. We break. And still, he paused. We live. The crowd clapped. Some cheered. Some cried because they knew. He was right. Lisa and Jake wrote a paper. It spread fast. Its title was, "Nothing About Human Bodies Makes Sense," and that's horrifying. In it, they talked about why humans were seen as wrong. They listed all the strange things about our bodies. The throat that chokes, the spine that hurts, the eyes with blind spots, the teeth that rot, the blood that leaks. But then they asked, what if these flaws are not flaws at all? What if they are signs of freedom? What if being broken means being able to change? What if chaos is not bad? What if it is life? People read it. They talked about it. Kids asked questions. Teachers used it in class. Doctors thought about it. And slowly, a new idea began to grow. Humans were not mistakes. We were free. Vifra watched from her hidden ship. She saw the paper. She read it. She felt something again. Something she could not name. Her body was still crystal. Her skin still glowed. But inside, she was no longer the same. She touched her chest, felt her heartbeat. Not fast, not slow, just different. She whispered, "I am not who I was." Then she asked herself, "Who am I now?" Meanwhile, more Zalari began to change. In secret, some watched human videos, listened to music, read stories. They started to feel things they had never felt before. Doubt, curiosity, sadness, hope. They began to ask, why do we run from life? Why do we fear change? Why do we stay so far from love? Leaders of the Zalari saw this. They tried to stop it. They gave orders. They shut down signals. They took away books. They punished those who watched too much. But it was too late. The infection had already spread. Human chaos was inside them, and once inside, it would not leave. Back on Earth, Lisa gave a talk. She stood in front of a large group. "The Zalari think we are broken," she said. "But maybe they are the ones who are broken." People looked surprised. She went on. "They are perfect. They are clean. They are safe. But they do not feel. They do not change. They do not grow." She looked at everyone. "We are not perfect," she said. "We are messy. We are loud. We are full of pain. But we also have joy. We have hope. We have dreams." She smiled. "And maybe," she said, "that is what scared them most." Jake stood beside her. He added, "The Zalari fear us not because we are weak. They fear us because we are free. They fear us because we are alive. They fear us because we remind them of what they lost." He looked at the crowd. Or maybe, he paused, what they never had. Vifra sat alone. She listened to a child's laugh. She watched a video of two people hugging. She saw an old woman smile, and she felt something warm. Not heat. Not pain. But something else, something soft, something deep, she whispered. "I want to feel more." These Zalari had locked us away. They had turned their backs. They had closed the door. But they had not stopped us. They had not silenced us. They had not killed what we are. Nothing about human bodies makes sense. And that is horrifying. But it is also beautiful, because nothing about human bodies makes sense, and that means we are still alive. Still changing, still growing, still wild.